simple. You will look like Jesus. And when you look like Jesus, you're compelled to live like Jesus. You know, some people in the world will just find it shocking that this church would go out of its way to serve the community with no funds being given to them by the city or by the government or anything at the time, just saying, we're going to pour out and help these people. Most people say, well, what's in it for them? Nothing other than they're doing what God's called them to do, and He'll honor them. Why? Because they're living like Jesus, loving like Jesus. Why? Because they've been changed by Jesus. I find it so sad, and I find it so scary, to be honest with you, that when I meet people and I ask them, when did you meet Jesus? When did you give your life to the Lord? They have a hard time answering that question. I mean, they'll tell you, well, you know, I've always loved Jesus. I didn't ask you if you've always loved Jesus or not. And by the way, Jesus said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. So if you really love Him, you'll do what He says. You know, people have this affection towards a Jesus that they don't even know. And so some people say, I grew up in a Christian home. I never asked you where you grew up or who you grew up with. I always kind of attended church. I'm not asking you about your church attendance on Sundays. I'm asking you, when did you meet God? When were you born again? And when was your life changed because of it? And if you can't answer that question, you should be concerned. I mean, is that too harsh? You look at Scripture, and every person that came to have a relationship with Jesus, you can see the day and the time and the moment that their life was changed. Saul on the road to Damascus. So who art thou, Lord? Saul changed to Paul. I mean, you meet these people in Scripture and you see a change in their life. Notice it's never a change towards perfection. It's a pursuit of it, but it's a change because God's got a hold of their life. He's changed their heart. He lives inside of them. So my question to you this evening is simple. When were you born again? When was your life changed? Can you give me a date and a time? You say, man, that's asking too much. If I asked you when you got married, I guarantee you could give me a day and a time. If I asked you when you got engaged, you'd be able to tell me exactly what the weather was like and how you felt when that person got on their knee or when you got on your knee. When you graduate high school, you'd be able to tell me what it felt like walking down that aisle and getting that diploma you'd worked so hard for. So why is it difficult for you to answer the question when I asked you, when did Jesus change your life? When did you go from being a dead sinner, lost in your sin, therefore one day due to face the judgment of God, the penalty of your sin, to being a son or a daughter of the living King? When did you get your adoption papers? That's basically what I'm asking. And if you have a hard time answering that question, be concerned. But also have hope. Because tonight can be your night. You can say tonight. It was that night in Houston, Texas. Was it that revival? Yeah, it was that night when I gave my life to Jesus and I went from being a dead person in my sins to being alive. To being alive, to being alive. You can come alive tonight. I preached at a church one time in the South,